Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, Misty Morrison, and this is episode 41 of Petty Please. Here on the Misty Morrison Podcast, we love to judge, we love to give advice, we love all the petty drama, and we love to help people look back on past situations with that 2020 vision to see how they could have handled the situation more gracefully. Before we get into our stories for the day, our usual housekeeping, whether you are new or returning, long-form content, podcast, and video is posted every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 a.m. Short-form content on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook is posted daily, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Please remember to engage with the content to help the channel grow. Everything can help. Whether you are listening on audio or watching a video, please remember to rate, review, like, subscribe for more, comment with your thoughts on the stories down below, and share it with a friend. All right, into our stories for the day. Story number 1 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Frustrated. What would you do? Vent/rant. Frustrated. This one is labeled what would you do? Vent/rant. The new tenant who moved in are a nuisance. First day, I smell cigarette smoke from the vents. The house is over 100 years old, so the house has no vapor barrier, and the return vents for the furnace distributes the smoke throughout the house. Then the smell of weed after 11 p.m. I asked the new tenant to stop smoking, to no avail. I advised the landlord, and all they said they would talk to them. It's been a month now, and tonight we are hearing drilling noises after 11 p.m. The tenant is young, early 20s, with young children. The children seem to be on visitation basis because I only know they are here when they are running up and down the hallway for hours until their visit is over. The tenant has male visitors whom all seem to smoke inside. The first encounter when I asked to please not smoke in the house, this was around midnight. The guy with red eyes said he was a dangerous man. He didn't speak to me, but to talk to my male partner, saying he had good weed. Also called us crackheads. Me, I don't like weed, and it affects me after long exposure with coughing and headaches. It hasn't been that cold here, but the tenant chooses to smoke inside and dictates their behavior by their partners, who said they can smoke wherever they want. The landlord told us this was a non-smoking and pet-free place. And now I'm frustrated that I can't really do anything other than maybe move, but who knows because inconsiderate people are everywhere. I'm not against weed, but am against indoor smoking in a shared area. Oh, that's hard because you brought up with the landlord, and despite the fact that the landlord informed you when you moved in that it was a pet-free and smoking-free area, the landlord doesn't seem to be doing anything about it. As excessive as it seems to be, regardless of which type of smoke it is, it seems to be excessive, seems to be affecting you, and your landlord is not willing to do anything about it. The people definitely don't care, but that's not for you to deal with. So moving is probably the best option, and I know you say that there are inconsiderate people everywhere, but there are more considerate landlords elsewhere who are willing to deal with the problem for you to maintain their own space. Story number 2 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Tried everything, but nothing seems to work. This one is labeled homeowner NFH. I moved into a townhouse last year, and since then I've reported to HOA, landlord, and the police about excessive noise from my neighbor from hell. Loud impact noises from the shared wall shaking from their running up the stairs, and of course the music that's so loud you can hear the lyrics. Just tonight, I called the police past quiet hours in Maryland to get them to turn down their music, and they said they would, but guess what? Nope, music's still thumping. In the past, I've contacted HOA multiple times and their landlord. Both said they would reach out and get them to calm down, but still the issue persists. No monetary fines or actual consequences, unfortunately. This is getting long and just need to vent, but if anyone does have ideas on what to do, I would appreciate it. I would keep calling the police. If you've tried the landlord and you've tried the HOA and they are not willing to intervene, it is the police's job to intervene. They have to. Call them, keep making those noise complaints, especially since your state has quiet hours. It's enforceable by the police. Every time they're being loud, call and report it. If you've noticed that the police have been there and they're continuing to make the noise, call again. Call again. You are entitled to peace and quiet. That is what quiet hours were made for. Story number 3 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Advice. This one is labeled What Would You Do vent/rant. I have a neighbor with schizophrenia. He goes into random screaming and banging episodes since he's off his medication right now. However, I have another neighbor who is just malicious and selfish. Well, she keeps sitting outside in front of my schizophrenic neighbor's house blasting music on this huge standalone speaker. It's very obvious it's to trigger my schizophrenic neighbor. It's Christmas Eve and she's again been blasting music for hours at his house, intentionally trying to send him into an episode. I know schizophrenia is extremely dangerous for him and the surrounding people. I've called the police on her for intentional harassment towards him, but they don't seem to be able to get her to stop. I don't know what to do anymore. I know if she doesn't stop, it could cause my neighbor serious harm if he goes into a schizophrenic episode, or if he ends up going after the kids in our neighborhood or the adults. The place I live has no noise ordinance either, so we can't get her with that. My landlord's too shy/afraid to confront the neighbor. Ooh. Okay, so you asked for advice. I would say continue calling the police every single time it happens. Call the police, report the harassment. I do see the first comment because it was a really short post, and it says, again, another one that I failed to think of. Perhaps Adult Protective Services. So sorry you're going through this. Hope you can have some peace tonight. Yes, Adult Protective Services, again, in this situation with a mentally unstable person, is a fantastic idea. They potentially have better skills. Well, they have better skills to deal with a schizophrenic neighbor, but the schizophrenic neighbor really isn't the problem here. It's the harassing neighbor. So definitely try APS, but I would every single time call police. Sometimes people will be more inclined to do what they're supposed to do when you're annoying enough. And that's sad that you have to be that person sometimes, but it's worth it to protect your peace and the people around you. Story number 4 is coming to us from r/entitled people. Neighbor complained to my landlord that my loud parties are disturbing her. I live alone and work nights. I, 28 male, live in a small apartment complex. Been here a while. I work night shifts at a hospital, so my schedule is all over the place. I'm usually sleeping during the day and at work at night. My landlord texts me saying there's been noise complaints about late night parties from my unit. I was confused as hell because I literally live alone with my cat, and the most exciting thing I do is watch Netflix with subtitles on. I asked who complained, and he said the lady in 3B, directly above me. I went up to talk to her and explained there's some mistake. She opens the door and immediately goes, "Oh, you're the party guy." I tried telling her I work nights and I'm barely home in the evenings, but she cuts me off saying she hears music and people talking until 2 to 3 a.m. multiple times a week. Turns out the unit next to hers, 3C, is the one actually having people over, but because the sound travels weird in this old building, she assumed it was coming from below her. I even showed her my work schedule on my phone. She just goes, "Well, maybe you should talk to your guests about being quieter," and closed the door in my face. I had to get my landlord to actually investigate and confirm it was 3C. She never apologized, by the way. Now she gives me dirty looks in the hallway like I'm the problem. The funny part is I already have some money put aside from stake for a down payment on my own place. Was just waiting for the right time, but this whole thing made me seriously consider moving out even sooner. Go for it. If you've got the money already, get out as soon as you can. I mean, she's not doing anything anymore. Like, you've cleared it up with your landlord that you are not the problem. Giving you dirty looks is annoying, but shoot her daggers right back. Story number 5 is coming to us from r/entitled people. My fling from 5 years ago is mad at me. I, 28 female, have been with my current boyfriend, John, name changed, for the past 3 years. He has been my rock, and I hope to marry him. 5 years ago, I had a fling with a former college mate. Funnily, he shares the same name as my current boyfriend. We went out on 2 dates, but he never called me after that, so I assumed it fizzled. To be honest, I'm very glad now that he made no attempt to contact me after the 2 dates. John the Fling and I have little to no contact. However, we have a few mutual friends. I recently ran into him at a wedding and was catching up with him. He asked me if I was seeing someone, and I told him I was dating a guy with the same name as his. For some godforsaken reason, John the Fling was highly offended by this. He said if you wanted to end up with a John, I was right there. Like, people with the same name are interchangeable. I politely reminded him that he never called me back. He said that he was waiting for me to call him, and I never did, so he gave up. I could have called him, but honestly, I wasn't feeling it. He made a few unwarranted taunts over text after that, and to protect my peace, I simply blocked him. No more of that in 2026. My boyfriend simply found it amusing, and while he has made a joke about it, we've both taken it in a positive spirit. P.S. Not that it matters, but I should clarify that the name is an extremely common name here in India. Edit, some people are taking this so seriously, asking why I had even the slightest contact with John the Fling. We have a lot of mutual friends and are on some WhatsApp groups together, so we do end up wishing each other on birthdays, festivals. That's the extent of contact we have. As for why I'm posting this, it's pretty much because I thought Reddit could use a funny story, not looking for any kind of advice. That is so weird. But I've heard similar stories before about people being offended, whether, you're dating someone with the same name again after them, or you reuse a name when you have a kid or something. Or, you use the same name that they used for a kid. They're just names. What's in a name is what you put into a name. It's okay. There's going to be more Madelines in the world. There's going to be more Johns in the world. It is what it is. Calm down. Story number 6 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance. This one is labeled original. Kohl's wouldn't price match Black Friday, so I followed their policy very carefully. I was super duper intrigued by this one when I read the title, and I feel like it's going to be a good one. This happened over Black Friday. Back in October, I bought a vacation... This happened over Black Friday. Back in October, I bought a vacuum from Kohl's online for in-store pickup. It normally sold for around $330, but I paid $250 and got $50 in Kohl's cash, which I used the following week. No issues there. When Black Friday rolled around, I noticed the exact same vacuum was now selling for $150. I reached out to online customer service to see if they could refund the difference since I had bought it online. They told me they don't do price matching or price adjustments during Black Friday promotions. Nothing they could do. While I was chatting with the rep, I looked at my order and noticed the return window was 90 days, and I was still well within it. I pointed that out and tried using it as leverage, asking if they could just refund the difference instead of dealing with a return. Still no. At that point, I told the rep that if that was the case, I'd return the used vacuum to Kohl's and just buy it on Amazon instead. They didn't budge, so I did exactly what their policy allowed. I ordered the same vacuum again from Kohl's for $150 with free delivery. That purchase also earned me $30 in Kohl's cash. When it arrived, I took the unopened box to my local Kohl's and returned it using my original $250 receipt from October. I fully expected them to deduct the $50 in Kohl's cash I'd already spent from the refund, but they didn't. End result, full $250 refund, $100 saved, plus an extra $30 in Kohl's cash. No rules broken, just followed their policies exactly. Good for you. Good for you for finding the loopholes. I mean, I completely get why they don't do price adjustments during Black Friday promotions, but I mean, when you said, okay, it's this price right now, I can go ahead and return it and get a new one for less. Like, you gave them the chance to not have to deal with the refund. But they have their policies they have to follow. So I'm not surprised the rep followed their policies, got to keep their job. And you basically made money on the deal. And I mean, you didn't even deal with opening the new vacuum or repackaging the old one or anything. It worked out okay for everybody. Story number 7 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance, another one tagged original. Admin says, just give him a multiple choice retake. I shared this on another thread in a different subreddit and it was popular, so I'm bringing it over here hoping you all enjoy some malicious compliance. I'm a high school math teacher. Earlier this year, I took over a geometry class during my prep period as the original teacher quit in late September. In late November, I gave one of my last unit assessments. My assessments are about 25 questions, non-multiple choice. One of my students decided to answer any question he didn't know with 6-7, resulting in a 17%. I had a private conference with a student who thought it was hilarious. I did offer him the chance to come one day after school to do corrections on those problems for up to half credit. The student refused. I called Mom to inform her and let her know that while he can still pass by doing well on the last test and course final, it is an uphill climb. Mom demanded I give her son a retake with multiple choice options. Mom says making the test not multiple choice is inviting students to do that. No, it's not. I refused, but did inform her that her son can stay after school to make corrections up to half credit. She refused and went to admin. Admin caved, making me offer the student a multiple choice version of the test. No. I decided to make one of the 4 answer choices in each question be 6-7. When the student finished the test, his score did improve to a 30%, selecting 6-7 as his answer on most questions, showing no work. I informed the mom and admin. The mom again went to admin demanding that I do not count any question he guessed 6-7. Admin refused and said, "We gave you what you wanted and your son another chance, and he continued his bad choice. The 30% will stay." Finally, the student did not pass the class, but the student did email me right as winter break started, apologizing for his behavior. He was a behavior concern throughout the class with 2 discipline referrals, and his not taking the test seriously, asking to change his grade from the 30% to a 70% to round his final grade from 52 to a 60, so he would get a 60% and pass. I do not enjoy failing students, and I understand geometry can be difficult for some, and many geometry concepts may not apply to their careers after high school. My philosophy is simple. 1. Regularly attend class. 2. Have a good attitude. 3. Try your best. You do those 3 things and you will pass. I try to focus on teaching important life skills like regular attendance, good work ethic, and asking questions, all of which will support you regardless of which career path you choose. Fantastic teacher. And to add to my decision of putting 6-7 as an answer choice for each question, I did not do it to set him up for failure. I was hoping he would learn his lesson and give him a better chance to do better with one answer choice essentially being removed. He chose not to use that opportunity. He did, however, ask for both tests so he can show people how funny it is. I did not give him the test for test security. Wow. Oh my goodness. I'm glad you didn't give him the test for one, obviously, but I'm also, from the sounds of it, you did not round his grade up so he could pass the class. And I'm glad you didn't, because he didn't deserve to pass. It sounds like he really didn't do the bare minimum. I hate that admin caved and forced you to give a multiple choice test. Like, you had already offered him the opportunity to retake, and he didn't want it. His mom didn't want the opportunity to retake unless it was multiple choice, because she knew her son would fail if it wasn't multiple choice. They both knew. And you even outdid yourself by making one option of the multiple choice invalid. Obviously invalid. So he basically only had to choose from 3 options instead of 4, and he didn't even try. He didn't even attempt to pick one of the 3 possible answers. He picked 6-7. He chose to fail. He went on and willingly, he knew he would fail when he did this. He chose to fail the class because he thought it would be funny. Okay, well, it's going to be real funny when you have to retake the class to get out of high school. And the mom. The mom is an enabler for, "Oh, well, it's your fault he failed because, you made some of the options 6-7. How's he He knew. He knew. Everybody knew. He earned the failing grade that he got. The entitlement. Oh, the entitlement on the part of both the mom and the kid, and the enabling on the mom to just keep fighting for him to get more chances. And the audacity of him to actually ask you to round his grade up when he didn't earn that grade. No, absolutely not. Whew, that was horrible. Story number, I've lost count now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Story number 8 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance, and this one is also tagged original. Voice recognition farce. I, male too old to be arsed with being messed around, am a first world immigrant to another first world country and have an accent that voice recognition really struggles with. 11, 11, 11. If you know, you know. For everyone else, search YouTube for the Burniston lift sketch. Okay. All the local banks, including mine, have heavily pushed for customers to use voice recognition. I call the bank about an issue, a very rare occurrence as most of my banking needs are online, and they asked me to enroll with voice recognition. When I stopped laughing, I politely told them that due to my accent, it doesn't work for me. Note that they had offshored call center service to the Philippines, so there's another communication issue as my accent is very difficult for Filipinos too. I call again about a month later, and the bank informs me voice recognition is now mandatory, and I asked, what if it doesn't work? Their response, it always works. Cue my peals of laughter. See my comment 11 above. I asked them how the enrollment works. They responded, just follow the instructions. Still, what if it fails? It won't. The malicious compliance. The bank transfers me to the voice recognition enrollment and it fails spectacularly. I have to hang up and call back. I told them about the failure, but they insist on trying again. I comply, knowing it would fail again. Rinse and repeat, called back. I told them about the 2 fails. They insist on trying again. My final compliance. It fails again, and I am about to have a sense of humor failure. I call back again and insist on having my issue dealt with without going through voice recognition. Once again, they wanted me to follow their process. Cue a change in my tone of voice from friendly to authoritative. No raised volume, no shouting, just a change of tone of voice. No. This has failed 3 times in a row. Look at your call records on this account. Either process my request or get me escalated and put in a complaint. My wife had worked for them, and I knew that was a huge negative metric that was to be avoided at all costs. The Filipino call center worker passes me to the native English speaker supervisor, who also struggles with my accent. I am perfectly pleasant in explaining the 3 failures, and all I wanted was a simple action taken that can't be done online. Success! No complaints required. 18 months later, I call, and bank has added an option to the IVR to bypass voice recognition. This change wasn't down to me, but after speaking to friends who work at the bank, it was rather lots of complaints that it didn't work for certain accents. Edited to correct spelling mistakes on an iPhone, or as on phone. Okay, I know you have policies in place that you have to follow. I get that. And when it was mandatory, I understand asking this person to try the voice recognition process. But after the second failure, I could even say, once might be a fluke, ask them to do it twice. But after the second failure, you're going to tell them just keep trying again. We don't actually care about your problem. We only care about voice recognition. That's annoying. Good on you for, doing your 3 tries. I love that you had the in with your wife having worked at the bank before to know what to do to get it handled. Good for you. That is lucky. And I love the way you put it. About to have a sense of humor failure. And rightly so. 3 tries later, they're still trying to force you through this process that you told them from the beginning wouldn't work. And the simple tone of voice, if you ended up talking to the same person you initially did, the simple tone of voice should have said a lot and probably did. So good for you for maintaining your sense of humor throughout, not having a failure. You got it dealt with. Honestly, this really would have given me the urge to switch banks if there were other banks in the area not doing this. But I'm glad they finally realized the error of their ways and made it optional. Goodness gracious. All right, that is, I've lost count again. I'm going to have to get me like a number counter thing to keep on the desk here to just flip my numbers. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is 8 stories for this week's episode of Petty Please. Thank you so much for being here for another episode, and I will see you next time. Bye.